Welcome to Naka Tales. They say life can change in the blink of an eye. For Emily, a vibrant 26-year-old who was finally coming into her own, those 6 seconds under a blinking yellow light would steal everything she'd fought so hard to build and reveal a secret she didn't even know she was carrying. It was March 14th, a clear afternoon. Emily and her fiancé, Daniel, aged 30 and caring for his 5-year-old son, had just stuffed quesadillas into brown paper bags at Chipotle. Laughter echoed through the car as they buckled in the boy, eager for leftover tacos that evening. But as they rolled up to the intersection, the light shifted from green to that peculiar blinking yellow that begs you to inch forward with caution. Emily leaned forward, heart pounding. She knew what was coming. "Wait," she whispered through the windshield. "Please wait for green." But Daniel's foot pressed the accelerator. Maybe he didn't hear her. Maybe he thought he'd make it clear. In less than a heartbeat, a dark sedan slammed into their driver's side at 50 miles per hour. The world erupted. When Emily came to, the sky was spinning. Sharp pain tore through her pelvis as if steel cables were crushing her bones. Every breath was acid. She heard sirens, frantic voices. Her cheek pressed against shards of glass. Tiny arms curled around her waist. Daniel's son, shaken but alive. Somehow, everyone else walked away. A miracle. But Emily did not. Fractures exploded through her body. Both sides of her pelvis snapped in two, her tailbone splintered, L4 and L5 vertebrae cracked like dry twigs, her sternum shattered. They called it the second worst break anyone can suffer. In the harsh glare, she stared at her hands, trembling. The pain was more than physical. It was fear, humiliation, helplessness. When they fitted her with the back brace, an off-the-rack lump of metal 3 sizes too big, she felt like a marionette whose strings had been yanked in every direction. "Stand up," the nurses insisted. "I can't," she sobbed. Each inch of movement was razor fire. When she tried, agony screamed through her spine. Her fiancé knelt at her side, face ashen. "Hold on," he whispered. "Please hold on." A week later, Emily was wheeled into a rehabilitation center, a pastel prison of hallways lined with beds. She lay staring at the ceiling, each fluorescent bulb mocking her. The center was for people who needed a second chance. She felt unworthy. She barely ate, didn't wash. Every nurse who touched her medical gown felt like an intruder. Once independent, once fierce, she was now a husk. She begged the ceiling to swallow her whole. When Daniel visited, he held her hand until her knuckles turned white. She saw his own terror mirrored in his eyes. He'd built his life around protecting her. Now he was helpless. Home at last, but no sanctuary remained. The house felt like a cage. She lived on painkillers and whispered regrets. Doctors had drawn up a roadmap for recovery. 3 months non-weight bearing, no bending, no twisting, a year, at least, of pain and slow progress. Emily's life before the crash had been a fragile bloom finally unfurling. She'd conquered cross-country half-marathons, balanced a new college curriculum, thrived after an adult ADHD diagnosis. She was shedding old skin, growing into someone she loved, and now all that hope lay in splinters at her feet. She watched the sunset through a crack in the curtains, longing to feel wind on her face again. Daniel was a rock. When the hospital left her with that ill-fitting brace, he stormed the desk in full Karen mode until they replaced it. He pored over insurance forms, speaking fluent acronyms in her stead. He bought her a $300 adjustable bed that lifted like a hospital gurney. He cooked, he cleaned, he even cancelled his own dreams, putting his side business on ice so he could be her caretaker. He had reason to be angry, too. A dozen strangers online whispered sue him and divorce him at the sight of her x-rays. But he never blamed her. He blamed himself for not stopping at yellow. Yet every "I'm sorry" from him felt like a sting. Emily's anger boiled over when she whispered, "You didn't hear me. I begged you to wait." Daniel looked at her with haunted eyes. "I don't know. I just saw green." That simple confession became the echo in her brain. I don't know. Days stretched into weeks. Emily's world was measured in inches. The height of her wheelchair seat, the depth of her braces straps, the narrow corridor of progress between one sunlit morning and the next. Then came something she hadn't expected, a flicker of humor. When her mother slapped a get-well-soon card through the door, Emily laughed at the kitten in a neck-brace cartoon. Laughter was the first color in a black-and-white life. But on April 14th, a month to the day after the crash, Emily discovered something she'd never suspected. Emily was pregnant. She should have known the signs, the fatigue, the queasy mornings, the sudden tears at baby commercials. But her world had been so consumed by fractures and therapy that she never stopped to wonder. At her 6-week checkup, a nurse handed her a small, folded paper, positive. Emily's spine trembled. Joy warred with terror. A child, a new life. Could she carry a baby with 2 steel screws anchoring her pelvis? Her mind raced back to the crash. That brutal T-bone. Tears spilled as she realized the truth. Not only had she lost her spring, her races, her selfhood, but she had almost lost this tiny life, too. She wept in the waiting room, clutching Daniel's hand. In the months that followed, pregnancy and rehab became entwined. She walked with a walker at 13 weeks, her belly blooming, her legs trembling under the weight. Daniel was by her side, cradling her back, carrying her books from class. Their son learned to tie his baby sister's bonnet in the nursery. The 3 of them, fractured yet steadfast, prepared for the twist of fate that was to come. When Emily reached 20 weeks, the doctors warned of bed rest. Their home became a tomb of pillows, their lives reduced to nursery paint samples and the slow tick-tick of a fetal heartbeat monitor. And then, one night, another twist. The crash had cracked more than bone. The impact left Emily with a rare scalp nerve injury. Some days, half her face felt numb, as if her smile had been left at the intersection with the yellow light. She saw a neurologist whose report was precise and devastating: permanent nerve damage. You may never feel your lower lip fully again. Emily stared at her reflection in the hospital's mirrored walls. The nerve had severed a part of her she couldn't heal. 9 months after the accident, the same date in December, Emily gave birth to a daughter, Violet, by C-section. Cradling the squalling newborn, Emily whispered through tears, "You're my miracle." Yet even as she held Violet, she felt the ghost of those steel screws, the bruises that time would not erase, and the secret she almost lost: hope. Because life had taught her 2 lessons: the fragility of the body, and the resilience of the heart. Today, Emily still walks slowly, one painstaking step at a time, but she walks. Her pelvic screws are her badge of survival. Her daughter is her daily hymn of gratitude. Daniel sleeps a little more peacefully, having learned that love must listen and wait for green lights. Emily's back brace is long gone. But every scar, every nerve tingle, every tremor in her footsteps reminds her that life's path is never a straight line, and sometimes the greatest twists bring the most unexpected blessings. So when you see that blinking yellow light, pause. Listen. And remember Emily's journey, a story of pain, perseverance, and the tiny heartbeat that turned her darkest chapter into a new beginning. If tonight's tale moved you, subscribe for more journeys into lives shaken by fate and redeemed by courage. Until next time, stay safe at the intersection of chance and choice. This has been Naka Tales.